categories have their own pace car, as it is now, sitting in behind with a little bit of a gap. So it will be Pipo Derani for Whelen Engineering in the red and white Cadillac, the Konica Minolta of Ricky Taylor on his inside. He's already been dropped and coming through into second place. It looks like Renger van der Zande in the 01 Cadillac has got a pretty good run, and he's on the inside to turn one. The lighter coloured car holds the inside line. The black and blue car has to give way, and that was the front row start of Ricky Taylor. 31, 01 and 10. Ollie Jarvis looks like he's held on to fourth position as the all-Corvette front row in the silver colours this weekend for the silver anniversary of Corvette Racing's partnership with Mobile One. And straight away the BMW goes through to the sharp end of the field and off. That's another early issue. Looks like a big spin for the LMP3 number 83, excuse me. Now, was that a jump or a push for Rodrigo Sales? Oh, looks like he might have just gone a little bit wide. May have had a little tap at turn 5. But other than that, I think we've got everybody running. Sales just wiggling the car around at the hairpin. Connor de Felipe with a cracking start, by the way, in that BMW. So action already with cars from row 3 in both of the pro classes, Jeremy Shaw, making the best of the start and advancing the 01 and the BMW in respectively DPi and GT Le Mans.
Yeah, I think that start among the prototypes was not exactly as the race director intended. Pipo Derani taking a bit of a liberty there by leaping out to a big lead as they took the green flag, but I don't think there'll be any penalties, most likely. He'll get away with it. He's been around this sport long enough. He knows what is likely to be called for penalty and what isn't. He's got more experience with that probably than most, in actual fact. So it is Pipo Derani there that leads from the pole position on the first up. A really good start there by Renger van der Zande. He was ready for that restart, and Ricky Taylor, who had started in second place on the outside of the front row, probably wasn't. So that's the order right now, but good to see that the prototypes, most of the prototypes, through cleanly on this first lap.
Shit, Adam, there seemed to be some confusion behind at least the DPIs and the LMP2s and 3s were kind of all over the place there. At one stage, they looked like they'd started single file on the back straight.
Yeah, there was an issue, meaning that Ben Keating did not actually take the green flag on the track. He was not rolling out when everybody else was following behind the safety cars, meaning that Ben Keating was alongside Oliver Askew when they were allowed to take the green flag. It caused a lot of confusion because Keating was supposed to be starting in the second place in the LMP2 class, and everyone else behind him didn't expect him to not be there. So then there was a lot of, oh, do I go here? Do I move up? Do I stay in my place? A lot of jockeying around and a lot of confusion that ultimately led to the LMP3 cars being confused as well. The good news, though, Keating has served his drive-through penalty for starting from the pit lane, and he was followed in by Askew. So both of those penalties have been served. The other bad news, though, the start is under review. Race Control is taking another look at it. That is expected. They always will do. So just to be absolutely clear there, those drive-through penalties share were for each of those cars? For the number 7 and the number 52. And that was for missing... Not starting where you should have been, right, in effect. Right, yeah, OK. That's the good way to describe it. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us, we're on Sirius 216 XM392 around the circuit at WWOJ 99.1 FM and around the world on RS2, IMSARadio.com. Really good start from Connor de Felipe in the BMW. Tardy start from the outside of the front row by the second of the Corvettes, Tommy Milner, and in fact he's got 2 BMWs gone past him now, but it was the red Connor de Felipe car that immediately dived into second place and then went back onto the racing line. Tommy Milner with a big wiggle coming out, which is, I think, where the second of the BMWs, the 24 car, got through in the hands of Jesse Krohn. Yes, it was. So what started Corvette, BMW is now Corvette, BMW, Corvette in the running order, with the Porsche, the WeatherTech Porsche, in 5th position. Not a factory car, but Jeremy, that private Porsche RSR 19, the latest version of
Porsche's GT Le Mans car does have factory drivers partnering with Cooper McNeil.
Yeah, and two very quick factory drivers as well, in Baptiste Zaminet and Matty Campbell from Australia. So, you know, Cooper, he knows what his job is in this race. He had a really good run at Daytona to begin the season, and he's just going to keep his nose clean, stay out of trouble. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much fun it's going to be for him, quite frankly, because he's already on his own and likely to remain so for much of this race. But you know, I think Cooper, whenever he's driving a race car, is having fun, and particularly when he knows he's got a chance of winning, as he will do today with those two factory drivers, because they have been fantastically quick all weekend long. That had certainly been the car to beat in qualifying, and of course, you know, yesterday in qualifying, it is the driver who qualifies the car has to start it. So Cooper it was who qualified the car. So we really didn't see the ultimate pace of that car, I think, in qualifying. No disrespect to Cooper, of course, but you know, when we get down after the pit stops are made and the other drivers take over, that car is going to be running right at the sharp end of this field in GTLM.
Daniel Morad with not a great start down in GT Daytona for the GT3 cars. Both of the Lexus went through. Aaron Telitz and Frank Montecalvo. Jan Halen for Wright Motorsports Porsche, the 16, pretty blue and black car that leads that. Then the two Bumblebee coloured Lexus. Then in fourth position is the first of the AMGs, the Allegra Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT3. I suspect we will be talking rather a lot about GT Daytona, Jeremy, because those street-based cars do really like a bit of a street fight. It's all elbows and arms and everything in there, and if we are talking about a sprint for 12 hours, this is probably the class where we will see that most obviously in GT Daytona.
Yeah, I think you're right. We always see tremendous battles there, but I think at GTLM also, because the cars are running pretty much nose to tail at the moment, and the two Corvettes and two BMWs seem to be very, very closely matched. In qualifying yesterday, there really wasn't much to choose between them at all. Just a tenth of a second, or just over a tenth of a second, covering the two Corvettes and the best of the BMWs, and the second of BMWs was only another 2/10 of a second further back. And so I think, you know, we can expect to see that all the way through the race. But already the GTLMs are making their way through the LMP3 traffic. However, mission accomplished now. With that split start, it at least took 3 or 4 laps for the LMP3 guys to kind of sort themselves out. So now, rather than having a clump of cars, as would have been the case if it all started together, the GTLMs could work their way past the LMP3 cars, which they are quicker than on the whole. Then you know, it's much easier to pass them one at a time rather than all in a clump.
Yeah, it's like that thing when you're on your favourite country road in the summer and you can go out for a drive, remember that? And you get a whole load of cars towing caravans, and if there's 3 or 4 of them together, you know you're never going to get past them all because there isn't a long enough bit of straight, and your car doesn't have the Bruckheimer style 18th, 19th, 20th gears and some kind of turbo boost. But when there's only one, you can plan and scheme a bit and nip by. That's what Jeremy's talking, and pick them off one by one effectively. At the front of the field, it is pole sitter Pipo Derani in first position. Oh, here's the pole sitter into the pit lane from GT Daytona. This is the number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche. Now, is this a penalty, Shea Adam, or do they have an early problem?
This is a massive penalty. It's very rare that a pole sitter gets a penalty for a bad start, but Jan Halen changed lanes on the start. That is a no-no, necessitating the drive-through that he is serving now. He's not the only car who was deemed at fault at that, though. The other one was the Ford Corvette of Tommy Milner that we saw getting passed by the 2 BMWs before turn 3 on that opening lap. He, too, changed lanes on the start, so that is another drive-through penalty.
Oh, dear me. Well, do you know what? If that's the only penalty they have, our Porsche keys to the race no mistakes in the pits. We might as well have said no mistakes at all. But if you're going to have a penalty, have it with 11 hours and 50 minutes still to go. By no means are they out of it. They've lost track position. And that number 16 car has dropped way out of the battle. The 16 car has dropped way back out of the battle, that Porsche, at the sharp end of GT Daytona. Just want to say a quick hello to Andy Holbury in the UK, who I know is listening. Andy, very sorry to hear about your dad's death this week. Our condolences to you and all the family and his friends. Hopefully the next 12 hours brings a bit of normality to you. I know how much you enjoy your endurance racing. Long time since we've had a chat in person. Sirius 216 XM392 WWOJ 99.1 around the track and around the world on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. And the blue Porsche, yeah, pulling right across in front of actually the GT Le Mans Porsche. I think that was the WeatherTech Porsche that was somewhat held up. The machine of Cooper McNeil, of course, and the rest of his team. And it is Cooper who started that. If you're going to start moving around on the start, Jeremy Shaw, if you have a bright blue car, you really kind of don't want to be doing that. Pipo Derani in traffic, and it looks to me as though Renger van der Zande has got ahead there. Yes, he has. Timing yet to catch up on that, but the 01 Cadillac is in the lead through Big Ben, and that, I'm assuming, Jeremy, happened in the traffic as they hit those LMP3 cars.
Yeah, indeed so, and that's what's interesting about that is this is a really hot pace. I mean, conditions right now at Sebring are absolutely perfect. It's relatively cool, only 60 odd degrees. The track is pretty clean. The sun's out, but it's not too humid. And as a result of that, Pipo Derani already has set a new race lap record. The old standard was a 1 minute 47.472 by Howie Tincknell a couple of years ago. Pipo Derani had set the fastest lap last year here at Sebring at 147.6. He, on lap 3, turned a 147.341. And even as a result, even with that, the other Cadillac behind him and the two Acuras are pretty much maintaining pace with him, as we saw also that change of the lead. So this is a very, very hot pace at the front of the field.
Yeah, and making the most, I would say, Jeremy, of the more temperate conditions that we have here this morning, as it still is at Sebring International Raceway, with a forecast that is a lot more user-friendly for race cars and race tyres than perhaps earlier on in the week in terms of the temperatures.
Yeah, as I was saying, exactly right. That's right. Yeah, it's perfect conditions right now. Absolutely glorious. The race cars and the drivers love these conditions. Whoops, Jimmie Johnson doesn't know.
Another spin for the 48. No damage to that car on the exit. Nose damage, excuse me, on the exit of turn number 17 and straight into the pits for the Allied Cadillac. Well, it's been a hard couple of days' work for the Action Express crew who were running this car. They had to effectively re-shell that machine. Well, that was an odd one at turn 17. He was in the GT Daytonas and catching up with a couple of cars, tries to go around the outside at turn 17. I see, lost it on the bumps, and lucky actually not to have a bigger hit from the car that he spun into. I think it was the Porsche of Pfaff Motorsport that clipped the front of the car, although there was another prototype, Jeremy, in the vicinity of that, which I'm presuming was the LMP2 leader, was it?
Yeah, I didn't actually see it, to be honest, but it's certainly not the way you want to start the race,
It was the Mustang 7. It was Loic Duval. They were battling over 6th and 7th, and Jimmie was trying to take 6th position from Loic Duval. So
in that case, he just lost that position because he had been ahead of Loic Duval. Loic Duval had fallen behind Jimmie at the start and had remained so through those first half a dozen laps or so.
The back end of the number 48 Cadillac, the Allied car has been a little feisty, I think it's fair to say. It's been moving around. The bumps here are pretty extreme, of course. That is the nature of Sebring International Raceway. And it has been the back end of the car that Jimmie has not had a handle on. He's trying to go wide around the heart of racing Aston and the Pfaff Porsche as he was coming through the final corner and got off the racing line. In fact, Pfaff makes the pass down the inside, so we had 3 wide at one stage. Jimmie trying to go around the pair of those fighting GT Daytona cars, and once you get off, well, certainly beyond the middle of the road there, Jeremy, things get a bit wild pretty quickly, because that's not a part of the racetrack that gets used very often at all.
No, and probably Jimmie's been actually the only one who's been out there during this weekend. That was yesterday when he crashed. Yeah, that was really unfortunate, and as we can see